What's up, guys, and welcome back to Broadway Goes, as we have a new video today and some interesting takes, stories, and things and thoughts about what I think the Broadway business is doing this week. So make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and let's get into the video. And Juliet went from 98% capacity to 98% capacity and 1,132,989 to 1,198,611 this week. Once again, doing amazing business like it always does every single week. A Beautiful Noise went from 623K to 757K and 55% to 62%. Again, it's not doing great business, and I predict it will close by January. As again, in order for me to think that this will survive past January, it will have to make $1 million this summer, and I don't see that happening. Back to the Future went from 99.14 to 98.15 for 7 performances and 1,200,000 versus last week's 1,222,731, doing big business. This is a juggernaut musical right out of the gate. And again, I think that personally, I don't love that Back to the Future is a musical, but you can't deny it is a box office behemoth. Hadestown, which did announce some star casting with a famous pop star coming into the part of Persephone, and hopefully that helps, went from 674,164 to 672K this week, and 97% capacity compared to last week's 96.73. Again, bad numbers for Hadestown, and hopefully it can turn a corner, because if it continues to do this, it's closing in January. I predict it closes in 2024, regardless of stunt casting, but maybe they have a big star for Eurydice, in which case, if it's a big star that can bring in box office, it might make it through the end of 2024, and I hope so. I don't want this beautiful musical to close. Hamilton went from 101.5 to 101.19 and 1,855,729 to 1,846,627. Here Lies Love went from 514,969 to 785K, and going from 95% to 98.12 for 8 performances, and that's because Lea Salong, I think, is in the show for a limited run. But again, this is exactly what I wanted Here Lies Love to do. In order for it to succeed, it needed to have a 7 or an 8 in front of it, and it had a 7 in front of it. It had a $270,000 increase from last week. Definitely headed in the right direction, and if it can continue to maintain this momentum, it'll be fine. But again, it could, once Leah leaves, this could potentially change, and we could see a situation where Here Lies Love was only successful because of Lea Salong. And again, I don't know what's going to happen with Here Lies Love. It could make it to the Tonys, it could not. It's a developing story. But for at least this week and the weeks that she is in the show, it's going to do very well. Could even get into the $1 million club. Again, if this show can't make it to $1 million or close by the end of the summer, I'm going to be very concerned. Kimberly Akimbo went from 87% to 92% and 613K to 680K. Again, I think this show will close in January. It's doing kind of worse than A Strange Loop did. And again, if I was expecting the show to go past January, it would have to have come close to $1 million. I mean, for a Best Musical winner, it's underperforming. This show should ideally be in the 8s and the 900s, and should be on its way to $1 million, and should have at least had a couple of weeks of $1 million before the Tonys and after the Tonys. I mean, The Band's Visit made $1 million, and they didn't even have Best Musical attached, which concerns me about Best Musical winners and prestige musicals, and how they are potentially being perceived by audience members. But hopefully that can go away. But again, I think this is kind of the new thing for Best Musicals, and that's something I don't love. But it's facts. Moulin Rouge went from 95.63 to 96.60 and 1,175,469 to 1,200,200. And again, these are softer numbers for Moulin Rouge, but again, any show would kill for these numbers, and it's doing awesome. New York, and Once Upon a One More Time need to get put out of their misery right now, because they are doing the worst out of any of the shows, with New York posting 692K compared to last week's 630K, and 70% to 68% this week. And even though it did increase, the average ticket is still $76. Well, Once Upon a One More Time from 51% to 56%, and 616K to 627K. Abysmal numbers. And again, it's only a matter of time until we have a closing notice for both productions. And mark my words, these two things are gone by Labor Day at the latest. They are huge flops. There's nothing else to say. In other videos, I've covered why these two have failed. It's because audiences don't like them, critics don't like them, and they just got panned, and no one wants to see them. And also, New York is a bland musical. Bland. It's just bland. Parade had its best week ever, going from 1 million last week to 1,344,466 and 100% capacity, and it had 9 performances. I mean, Parade made more money than Once Upon a One More Time or New York, or Kimberly Kimbo. You know what I mean? It shows the strength of that production, and I'm glad they're keeping it a limited engagement, because I think it would destroy the credibility of the exclusivity of seeing this revival. Shocked went from 89% to 88% and 698K to 739K. And again, these are solid numbers for Shocked. And again, in order for this to be the next Beetlejuice or to survive past January, again, I think it closes in January, it would need to be doing 8s, 9s, and have made $1 million, and I don't see that happening. So again, I do think Shocked closes in January, and we'll see 4s and 5s in September and October, and we'll get into closing announcement in November. 6 went from 88% to 95%, and 851K to 932K. Some Like It Hot went from 71% to 77%, and 796K to 894K. Doing much better, but again, I think that it's going to close in January as well, because I think it will make $1 million a couple more times, but I think the fall will not be kind to Some Like It Hot. And it could close before Labor Day, because it has been losing money, especially since it opened back in November, and it's now July. And again, when you look at, like, a lot of these best new musicals, they're not performing at the level that other best musical nominees or winners were doing pre-COVID, or even last year to an extent. These are very soft numbers. But again, I think it was a very weak season overall. Sweeney went from 1,740,780 to 1,805,510. What else is new? Selling Out, and then that's it. So those are the goals for this week. Overall, pretty much nothing has changed. I think that we've just gotten more confirmation on stuff like Hadestown, Once Upon One More Time, and New York. And yeah, it's a very not slow, but soft box office for Some Like It Hot, Shocked, Kimberly Akimbo, New York being the worst one. You know what I mean? Like, the one that's doing the best, like, none of the musicals that got nominated for Best Musical in that one have made $1 million. Kimberly made 600K, New York, 600K, Shocked 700,000, Some Like It Hot, 800,000. So it's really been a weak season for these new musicals, and kind of have to admit, all these shows are underperforming. Like, 2 of them, or 1 at the least, should be doing $1 million or 8s and 9s, and it's not, and that's not a good thing. But those are my thoughts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.